You've probably heard of racial disparities in education and employment, but is there inequality amongst people of the same race based on the particular shade of their skin? In this video, I'll share some research that might surprise you. Inequalities or discrimination based on skin tone is called colorism, and though it's lesser known and less acknowledged than racism, the studies I'm about to share with you prove that colorism is just as impactful and therefore just as important. And this research speaks to multiple racial and ethnic groups, proving that colorism is a cross-cultural problem that all people should be aware of. I'm Dr. Sarah Webb, and I've been studying and teaching people about colorism for over a decade. And all of the research studies, plus hundreds more that I reference in this video, can be found on the Colorism Healing database page, which I'll link to in the description box below. That said, let's jump into some research on the impact of skin tone on school and workplace outcomes. I want to start with research on schooling and education because most people go to school before they go to work. A 2009 article reveals that although racial inequalities in education have declined overall since the civil rights movement, things had only improved for students with light to medium skin tones. The article reveals that students with dark skin tones still experience the same level of inequalities that African Americans experienced during the civil rights era. Two articles published in 2013 and 2017 indicate that having darker skin tones significantly increased the odds of suspension for African American adolescents, especially for African American girls. The odds for suspension were 2 to 3 times greater for African American girls with the darkest skin tone compared to their classmates with lighter skin tones. And yes, this was despite other variables such as family income, the size and kind of school they attended, their relationship to their teachers, their academic performance, and other prior behavioral infractions. A 2015 article that looked at multiple Latin American countries showed that skin tone had a greater impact and a more consistent impact on disparities in education than even racial and ethnic identification. The researchers found that darker skin was consistently related to negative schooling in all of the Latin American countries they studied. A 2016 study focused on Asian and Latino students consistently showed a correlation between lighter skin and higher levels of educational attainment, particularly among U.S. young adults of Filipino and Puerto Rican descent. While studies like this report on educational disparities, a 2015 article seeks to explain the reasons for such educational disparities. Considering African Americans and Latinos specifically, the article explains 3 things. 1, the halo effect may cause teachers to view lighter-skinned students not only as more attractive, but also as more competent, intelligent, and more trustworthy. 2, if a student has light-skinned parents or even a white parent in the case of mixed-race students, that parent might be more successful in advocating on behalf of their child. And 3, the school-to-prison pipeline means that when darker-skinned students are more harshly punished, as explained in some of the research studies I just shared, they're more likely to have negative long-term effects that might prevent them from graduating or finishing school altogether. And what about the research on employment and income? Since school is still the biggest pipeline to the workforce, you can understand how the disparities I just mentioned already create skin tone disparities in the workforce. But once individuals survive school and make it into the workforce, research studies show that there's still discrimination and inequality based on skin tone. As far back as 1988, a research article focused on Mexican Americans showed that due to workplace discrimination, those with darker skin and more Native American features earned significantly less than Mexican Americans with lighter skin and more European features. A 2009 article shows that skin tone plays a significant role in perceptions of Black job applicants. In fact, skin tone was seen as even more significant than educational background and prior work experience. In 2020, an article focused on Middle Eastern women showed that participants in their study consistently preferred to hire lighter Middle Eastern women. And an article published in 2021 that focused on the country of Mexico found that colorism manifested less as discrimination against darker-skinned workers, but more so as the favoring and privileging of lighter-skinned Mexican workers. These research studies and many others show that colorism definitely impacts school and workplace outcomes. If you know of a school or a workplace that would benefit from a workshop or training on colorism, please visit colorismhealing.com to find out how I can help. And I hope you join me again soon. Much love.